A very warm welcome along to SportsBet TV with me, Paul Alster, here with you, looking ahead to the very first day of what promises to be a brilliant meeting on the Naves Mire this week. It's the Yorkhill Festival, and it starts on Wednesday, the 17th of August. Each and every day has terrific racing and hopefully some very good betting opportunities at decent prices for us, which is what we're always looking out for here at SportsBet TV. Well, it is going to be a great 4 days. We're expecting the ground to be good to firm, but of course there are forecasts of flash thunderstorms, and that could really throw a spanner in the works. So do bear that in mind, that these bulletins are recorded early. Hopefully there won't be any dramatic changes in the going, and we'll be able to have as good a time this week as we did this time last year, where we made overall a £215 profit to the recommended each way stakes, which is excellent at a big meeting. And they included 16-1 winner Flaming Rib and the 9-1 winner Winter Power, of course, who was terrific in the sprint. There were also a couple of very tasty each way placed horses as well that we came up with among our bets. And we're hoping that this week will be every bit as good. If you are new to this channel with me, Paul Alster, then just subscribe. It's for free. It's below the screen. You press the red button and you'll be kept in touch with when each and every one of the bulletins are released. I have 4 recommendations for you for Wednesday. They're all tasty prices and they're all in the handicaps. I've avoided the group and stakes races. Now, very quickly, last weekend, my good form in August, for a poor month, admittedly, in July. August has been much better, and it continued with Postwick romping home. Our first selection, recommended at 14-1. He was well backed, as it seems so many of my recommendations seem to be. 17-2 he returned, but still a very nice price. I'm sure plenty of you were on at 10, 11, 12-1, if not the 14s. That was at Newbury, of course, given a great ride by Richard Kingscote. And Dubai Poet certainly ran well, recommended at 12-1. He was another one hammered in the market, down to 6-1 for the Hungerford Stakes. He finished second there in that group race, and he ran with a lot of credit for the each way double. Alsimo just never really seemed to be on terms with herself in the Great St Wilfred. And of course, I was kicking myself that I'd talked myself out of Mark's Choice, who was running from out of the handicap. You would have heard my line of thinking on that race. He ran very well to be third at big odds. So overall, it was a really good day for us last Saturday. And so far this month, we're £196 up for our level £10 each way stakes. Let's see if we can keep it going. And we'll move on with the very first race at the Ebor Festival 2022, which is the York 150 on Wednesday. Well, I certainly pick him, don't I? You know, some tipsters, they'll be going for, they'll be telling you he's going to go really well at York in the International at 2-5. Well, there's 22 runners here in a 5.5 furlong handicap. It's good to firm, hopefully. 3-year-olds and upwards, and a lot of old favourites in this sprint, including the 2019 winner of the race, Dakota Gold, and also last year's winner, Copper Knight. Now, they're both back for more. Copper Knight not in the same kind of form this year, it seems, but Dakota Gold has been going very well indeed, and he won here in May, now £4 higher, and has been a rock solid second in his last 2 starts, so he won't be far away. Roger Varian, well, his Dusky Lord was second in a pretty hot Goodwood 5 furlong handicap last time out, and has blinkered first time, so he has to be of some interest. Off a £1 higher mark. In the same race, Atalis Bay, trained by Roger Cowell, who goes again here, got no sort of a run, and he may do better. Now, Zarzini is a horse who I think has to be thereabouts. Very consistent sort. Same comment for Mackinac, who finished second, beaten ahead to Dakota Gold here in May. And then you've got Tracy Waggart's horse, Gathenfar. Tracy, of course, won the Great St Wilfred on Saturday. Her horses are running so well. She's having a dream season. And this Gathenfar is such a tough horse, runs from the front, and it takes good ones to get by him. The other one I would mention in a very hot race is the Swedish Raider. Yes, this one from Sweden, and you might remember it from the Stewards Cup. Good Eye, trained by Jessica Lang. And this one was fourth in the Stewards' Cup. A wonderful run for Sweden. Now, a lot of people said it might have been favoured by being drawn next to the stands rails, and that's probably true to some degree. There were plenty of others drawn close to the rails that were left behind by Good Eye, and I could see it being thereabouts. All the above said, I'm going for a big odds opener at York. And the horse in question is a horse I tipped at this meeting last year, and he ran really well. His name is Gizza Sub, and he's trained by Kevin Ryan, who trains just up the road from the Knavesmire, and is the mount of Kevin Stott. Now, this one is a 3-year-old up against the older horses, and he is rated 99. Now, as I mentioned, I tipped him last year when he ran an absolute blinder when 20-1 second to Lusail in the Group 2 Gimcrack Stakes. This is a horse who seems to save his very best performances for the flat galloping expanse of York Racecourse. He'd previously been beaten a nose at York on his debut over 6 furlongs, and he just seems to go very well at the track. And it's a dear old McCririck's old adage, the horses for courses, that he used to bang on about. Well, there is something in it, and this is a horse that really likes York. Now, so far in 2022, we started the season with a rating of 106 and needed the run at Hamilton Park. That was on good to soft ground, which probably wouldn't be ideal, and he was probably in need of the run. He finished third there. He was simply not good enough in a Group 2 at Haydock a few weeks later. That was over 6 furlongs. He showed a lot of speed, though, until weakening just at the furlong pole. And then they put blinkers on him last time out. And it was a measure to me that they still hold him in some regard, that they ran him in the Group 1 Commonwealth Cup. And he ran very well. That was at Royal Ascot, ran well for a long way, leading the field until about a furlong and a half out, where he'd gone a little bit too free and he paid for it and weakened out of contention. Now, he's had a 2-month break, and this is what interests me. He's had the 2-month break. He is gelded now, so that should concentrate his mind. No more interest in the ladies. The blinkers that he wore at Ascot have been left off. They seem to have the reverse effect. They lit him up a bit too much. So this time they put cheek pieces on, which is a kind of a halfway house, isn't it? So hopefully that should keep him honest, but not get him too lit up. And he's down to a rating of 99, and this will be his first ever run in a handicap. His last 5 runs have seen him go in 3 Group 2s and 1 Group 1. So this is a horse who's going to taste handicap company for the first time and has dropped below 100 rating. I think with his fondness for the track and the hope for good to firm ground, he should go really well. And Kevin Ryan has done really well in this race over the last 9 years. He's won it twice in the last 9 years. So the fact that he's aiming Gizza Sub at this race after the break and with a new piece of headgear on, I think is significant. A sporting bet in the first race at big odds. And at the time of this recording, at 11 o'clock on Tuesday morning, UK time, he's a 33-1 best odds, and that's available each way for 6 places with Bet365. Remember, as always, to shop around. You may find better in due course when betting really gets going late into Tuesday afternoon and evening, of course, into Wednesday, when the money starts to really fly around and the firms try and get your money in their satchels. So Gizza Sub, 33-1 for a sporting run in the first race at York 150 on Wednesday. Now then, there is some great racing at York, but I'm not tipping in the feature races, the Great Voltigeur or the international races. Small fields, as has been the curse of this season, although it can always be the case in these top races. But there's no real each-way opportunity as far as I can see it. If I were to have a bet, I'll just give you this for nothing. I'd probably give a second look at ACAL for Aidan O'Brien in the Great Voltigeur Stakes. And in the international stakes, Baid, fabulous horse over a mile. He may well be equally as good, maybe even better over a mile and a quarter. But last year's winner, Mishrif, was so impressive in this race 12 months ago. And he ran well despite things going wrong for him last time out. And I think he could expose any stamina flaws in Baid. But that's a thing that's been pointed out by a number of pundits over the last few days. But I would certainly feel that Mishrif would be worth a chance. But I'm not tipping him to suggest you put money on him. I just think the race is probably worth watching rather than getting involved in. Now then, the 4:10 race at York is the second race I'm recommending. It's a 2-mile handicap. At the time of this recording, 15 runners on good to firm ground. And it is a race that has a host of solid 2-mile handicappers. A good quality race, as it should be, with 100,000 quid up for grabs. And Emma Lavella's had a wonderful time so far this season, predominantly a jumps trainer, of course, but she's done really well with Master Milliner, who's around the 5-1 favourite. He was second over the course and distance in May, beaten 5 lengths off 88, but since then he's really come good with a win on the all-weather over 2 miles at Kempton, and then last time out over 2.5 miles at Glorious Goodwood. So a horse really going the right way, but is moving up in the weights and has gone up 10 pounds since he was beaten at this course in May. Soapy Stevens for the Johnstons, Charlie and Mark, such a tough horse. He's a terrific horse to own, I would think. He's won at Chester and Newmarket of late. He was 4th at Goodwood, over 1.75 miles. He'll be thereabouts. Alfred Boucher for Ian Williams, with William Buick, quite eye-catching, closely matched with Soapy Stevens on their running at Chester. Comment that also applies to Zoffy, who's trained by Hugo Palmer. He was 3rd in that Chester race, only beaten ahead, and he didn't appear to stay the 2.5 miles when he ran against Master Milliner at Goodwood last time. The Johnstons also have the Max We Can, who won the Showgirl Cup over 2 miles. It's gone up a couple of pounds. Jamie Spencer is on board again. And the Johnstons also run Thunderous. Now, here's an interesting horse. Top weight of 9 stone 12 and Ryan Moore. His first time into handicap. His last 11 runs have all been in pattern races, all in group races. Indeed, his last run was in the Group 1 Goodwood Cup when he was 6 to Kyprios. Now, he's the class act, but a rating of 109 is very hard to win off. But the Johnstons do have a very strong hand. My choice, though, is a mare, 5-year-old mare, FRANKENSTELLA, trained by John Quinn, and the mount here of James Sullivan. And my regular followers will remember this horse with a great deal of fondness because she was the second leg of a superb treble I had in May of last year that added up to odds of 1,299 to 1. She won in heavy ground for us at Haydock under Jason Hart, who usually rides her. He's actually going to Musselburgh for 4 rides, and James Sullivan takes over. He's a perfectly good jockey, James Sullivan, and I've got no qualms about recommending him on this horse. Now, this 5-year-old mare is 4 from 12 overall, so a decent strike rate, and that includes a win over the course and the distance in September 2020. She's quite lightly raced, really. She only had 4 runs in 2021, the feature of which was that great win where she came home for us at Haydock in the heavy ground. But she's not necessarily a heavy ground horse, mind you. She's won on good to firm, so she goes on any ground. And last year, after that run at Haydock, she just had the one more run a few weeks later at the end of May at Carlisle, where she was second, then obviously met with a setback. She wasn't seen for 349 days, over 11 months, prior to finishing 3rd of the 7 runners to a horse with no name over this course and distance. And clearly this is a course that Quinn feels suits her. He brought her back at this track. She ran well. She was a bit rusty. She won't be rusty now, I don't think. And that was off the mark of 87. She appears to retain all her ability. As I say, she's always gone well here. And the good to firm ground suits. She did win over 7 lengths on quick ground at Pontefract in 2020. And of course, the yard is in great form. They had that wonderful win from Highfield Princess in the Group 1 in France just a week and a half ago. I think she looks the value. And after making my notes, she was a 12 to 1 shot available, but that's gone. And she's now best priced 10 to 1 with Sky Bet each way for 6 places. Maybe the 12 to 1 will come back. So do shop around, but 10 to 1 at the time of this recording. Each way 6 places. FRANKENSTELLA in the 4:10 at York on Wednesday. Then I take you on to what, at first glance for me, I had a look at this when the declarations came out. I thought, this is impossible. The 4:45 race at York. Filly's handicap, 5 furlongs, 19 runners, good to firm ground. And I looked at this and thought, I cannot fathom it out. Of course, this is one of the 4 races I'm tipping in that they have respectively 22, 15, 19 and 20 runners. So I'm not shirking the issue. I am looking for real value in big fields. But having had a second look at it, one horse did jump out at me. So I've decided to recommend it in this race. Now, one thing that stands out in the race is that the owner, Nick Bradley, who has loads of syndicates and does really well, he's running five horses, many of them with different trainers. So he's obviously keen to get a bit of the share of the prize money. William Haggis, as usual, has an interesting run, and as usual, it's marked up as favourite. Pink Crystal, it's called. It won over 6 furlongs lately at Thirsk and has also won at Brighton, but has gone up £9 in total. I can't see why on the bare form it is favourite, but obviously the Haggis factor has the bookies worried. Sandbeck for William Bethel is rather more interesting, I would say. Won 3 out of 4 starts this term, gone up £16. Impressive at Doncaster last time out. So one that would be in the mix. Now, John Butler has had a fair season. He's got Designer, who was a good 6 of 27 at Ascot in a 5 furlong handicap at the Royal Meeting and has been rested since. If there were to be any rain, one of those flash thunderstorms that they're saying could hit anywhere, and the ground ease, then Designer would be one filly who would benefit from better ground. Now, Carl Burke has got Gilded, who's down in grace since winning a listed race in June at Ayr. And this one ran in a grade 3 last time out, was second over course and distance at the May meeting in a listed race. And both Carl Burke and George Bowie are saddling 3 each in the race, which is why it is such a challenge finding a selection. But I do have a selection. And the more I look at it, the more I think this is the horse to beat. And its name is Cuban Breeze. And it's trained by the flamboyant David Evans and is the mount of Ryan Moore, no less. Now, this filly, she is tough as teak. She has already run 13 times this season. That's remarkable. She's been really busy this year. But that's typical of David Evans. He seems to let them do their running on the track and just gives them just a few bits and pieces of work at home. And she is tough, and she seems to thrive on the hard work. She's won 5 races already this season in handicaps since the start of the year. She won at Ascot in July over 5 furlongs off a mark of 80. And last time out, she won a really valuable race at Windsor. I think it was worth about 75 grand all in all. And that was off 85 on Good to Firm. She's gone up £4. And so far this season, she's improved £25. And she hasn't really shown any signs of stopping. But the thing that's convinced me here is the booking of Ryan Moore for David Evans. Now, of course, Ryan has won for David Evans on Rohan, taking the Wokingham on that horse this season at Royal Ascot. He also won on Rohan in a Group 3 last year. And it's clear to me that David Evans only books Ryan Moore when he really, really fancies one. And that's borne out by the figures. Over the last 5 years, Evans has booked Moore just 15 times. That means basically only 3 times a year is he booking Ryan Moore. And he's won 6 of those 15 races. That's for a 40% winning strike rate. And to a level pound stake, you'd be looking at over a £43 profit. So they've been popping up when Ryan Moore rides them for David Evans at really good prices. And I think Evans fancies his chance here once again, despite this red-hot race. And so at the odds offered at the time of this recording on Tuesday morning of 8 to 1 each way for 5 places, and that's offered with Bet365, the best place odds at the moment, I think Cuban Breeze has got a massive chance. Now, remember to have a really good look at the odds comparison sites or shop around amongst those you might have accounts with, because by the time the race comes around, something could have been backed and this one might have eased in price and you may get even better odds. But for me, Cuban Breeze is the one in the 4:45 at York. And on to my final selection, the last race on day 1. Now, just the other day, I pointed out to you that I very rarely bet in nurseries. The reason being that you get so many horses that are improving out of all recognition. And very often they're quite low-grade events. And without putting too fine a point in it, you just wonder what's actually going on, how much some of them are actually focusing on that particular race. Let's be charitable. But when there's such big prize money at these major meetings, I think the mind of trainers and owners is really focused, and the fact that there's a lot of money up for grabs in this nursery handicap at 520 over 6 furlongs for me is significant. And there is one of interest, well, more than one, but I'm recommending one for you. Now, there is an early non-runner, and that, I believe, is Far Shot, the John and Thady Gosden runner, meaning we're now down to 19, but that's been taken into account with the odds I'm seeing on the odds comparison side. Now, the betting 6-1 the field, which says and tells their whole story. Very unexposed horses, potential improvers, horses that are going to improve going up a furlong maybe, or if there's a change of ground or a change of headgear or a change of jockey. These are youngsters who are still learning their trade. And it is a tough test for 2-year-olds at York at the big meeting. It's an incredible atmosphere there. And I'm very sorry I'm not going to be tasting it myself this year. And it's a test of the nerve of these juveniles as much as anything. Let me just take you to the horses that are at the top of the market. They are Mrs. USA, who's trained by George Bowie and is a Sandown 5 furlong maiden winner, and Richard Farhi's Ramazan. Now, Richard has done really well in this race in the last decade. He's won it 3 times in the last 10 years, and this one won a Beverley 5 furlong novice race before not being disgraced at Royal Ascot, and last time out won a nursery at Haydock. The other one that is for the shortlist for me is Streets of Gold for Eve Johnson Horton, who's unbeaten. So we really don't know how good this horse could be. 2 from 2, winning a Chepstow 6 furlong maiden, and then winning in a novice stakes at Newmarket last time out off a mark of 92. Very interesting horse, Streets of Gold. But I want to make a case for you here for a horse who's going to be a big price, and its name is UTILIS. UTILIS, UTILIS for Brian Ellison and Ben Robinson. Brian trains up there in the northeast, County Durham way, and they paid 60,000 guineas for this at the Breeze Ups earlier this year. A colt by Profitable, and so obviously the horse had shown itself to be a really good mover and looked pretty decent when it was breezing. It made its debut though at Doncaster in June over 7 furlongs and clearly was unfancied. It was almost 3 figures, 8-0, 80-1. And it ran a tremendous race. Really eye-catching debut, third to Forza Timau. The second horse, the horse that split them, has won since at Epsom in a maiden, so the form I think is solid. They then went to Hamilton with this horse in July, 6 furlong maiden over 6 furlongs, finished second that day, raced a little bit keenly, raced prominently, led over a furlong out, then got caught at the finish by a horse of Keith Dalglish's that apparently is quite well regarded, called Iotto's Angel. So that again was a very solid run. And then UTILIS went to Chester last time out. We all know how tricky Chester can be and how much luck is needed. Well, he had no luck at the start. He blew the start, missed the break, was always playing catch up. And when he did start to make ground 2 furlongs out, and looked as if he might, you never know, get to them, he was hampered and couldn't get a clear run. So his jockey eased him down quite sensibly. And he still finished 4th. Wasn't a bad run by any means. But now he's back to a conventional track. 6 furlongs, I think, is the ideal trip. And they're putting a hood on for the first time just to keep this one nice and calm and focused. He's got a mark of 82, which I think looks fair. He's drawn in the middle, so we'll be able to follow the pace wherever that happens to be. And I just think, in my humble opinion, this horse is worth a little bit of an each-way interest. And 25-1 offered each way, the best odds at this time, 11 o'clock-ish on Friday morning. Bet365 once again, the best offer with 6 places at a pony, 25-1. You can also get those odds for 5 places with the likes of Boyle Sports, Betway and William Hill at the moment. So UTILIS for me in the 520 at York. So there's 4 big priced horses for you for an each way Yankee or an each way Lucky 15, or you can decide to leave 1 or 2 of them out and stick a few of your own in. Whatever, I wish you the very best of luck for this start of York. I'm going to be with you each and every day. We'll have a nice early bulletin up Wednesday for the Thursday action on day 2. But for now, from me, Paul Alster, I'm going to wish you a very good morning and enjoy your day 1 action on Wednesday at York. It's sure to be a brilliant meeting, and we need some good headlines for once for racing after all the trouble and strife that the industry is going through at the moment. Best of luck for Wednesday. Bye-bye for now.